What is up, denizens of the interwebs? It's Arza Chats here, coming at you with another video. And this time we're talking about the new character design system for Dragon Age Veilguard. So, like, subscribe, and hop in, losers. This is the worst one yet. So with all the stuff we're seeing about the character creation selector for Dragon Age Veilguard, it makes this article seem all the more sensible. That I covered in my previous Dragon Age video, Dragon Age understands freedom better than players do, and it really shows that they think they understand it better than we do. They think they understand what we want to look like and how we should look like, but what they truly understand is the modern audience's desires. And of course, to the surprise of absolutely no one, all of the games journalists are just eating this game up. They absolutely love it. From Kotaku to The Gamer to IGN, they all seem to absolutely love the 7 hours that they've had to play of it. And of course, this article from IGN, Dragon Age the Veilguard preview, BioWare finally nails the character creator I've always wanted. Because of course, this person's always wanted it. But what is it that they love so much about it? Well, according to the author of this article, Alyssa Moore, they love what anyone would love. There's so much hair. She says that there are over 40 different options for various different classes, including the Kunari, which is odd that the Kunari, a horned-based demon-like race, would have so many hair options. That seems to be the main focus of her discussion, is simply on the hair. But of course, that's not it. They have to go and talk about the stuff that they always love to talk about. For instance, these sliders allow you to change everything from head shape to the melanin in your skin to the presence of vitiligo. Of course they love vitiligo, because vitiligo is the perfect thing for any kind of woke person to have. They all love it, and that's why all of their characters have it, despite the fact that very few people actually do. And then of course, they continue on to talk about how body positive the game is. How there are sliders that allow you to play with any height and any weight you want, allowing for a whole slew of different body styles. But there's one body style you're not allowed to have. And that is the body style of an attractive female character. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I think it's first pertinent to mention this other article from The Gamer. Dragon Age the Veilguard's director would love a Dragon Age Legendary Edition. And you know what? I perfectly believe that. Because after what we saw with Mass Effect Legendary Edition, where they completely sanitized the old games, edited out a bunch of camera angles and a bunch of story beats that were deemed too sexual or sexist, but only for the female shepherd, and were maintained for the male shepherd, I can imagine that they would love to go back and erase all of their past sins and completely purge the original gritty Dragon Age games of everything that's no longer sensible. And I'm sure that the number one thing that they'd love to purge is my favorite scene from Dragon Age Origins, in which Alistair, the guy in the screen right here, goes, "Why do they call it a brothel? Do they make broth here?" And it's one of the funniest scenes. It's completely offhand, and it really doesn't matter for the grand scheme of things, but I'm certain that if they were to do a legendary version, that entire brothel would be removed. Either that or all the prostitutes would be replaced with men, because that's exactly the kind of thing that they would do given the state of BioWare right now. And that of course leads me over here to That Park Place with John F. Trent, where we really get into the meat of exactly what's wrong with this game. The character customization is the only thing that's been released so far, but of course people are finding a ton of horrendously DEI infested things, such as this inclusion of top surgery scars. Is of course one more place where they're just pointlessly pandering to the modern audience that doesn't exist. And I've seen pictures where they include the scars, so the reason that they're there is purely for pandering. But of course this leads to a bigger issue, and it was one of my problems with Hogwarts Legacy, which I loved. In a world like this, where magic is so excruciatingly bountiful, there would never be such a thing as a transition scar. There wouldn't be any kind of transitioning, because in reality, you wave your wand or say a simple incantation, and you would be physically transformed magically. You wouldn't be transformed, you would just be the other sex. So besides the fact that they wouldn't even have the technology to properly remove someone's breasts, the fact that they have them in there at all is a complete and utter stupid idea that's sole purpose is to pander and to give more ammunition to the DEI modern audience culture war. And what makes it even funnier that they allow you to include mastectomy scars is when you look at what they allow you to do with intact breasts or butt. Shout out to Learning the Law over at X for pointing this out, that this is the maximum chest size you're allowed to have in Dragon Age the Veilguard, and this is the maximum butt size. Looking at the difference between the two of them, you can barely even tell a difference from the maximum to the minimum. It doesn't make any sense. I honestly have no idea why. If they're letting you choose, they would only put this much in though. Well, actually, I do. And it goes down to two simple things. First of all is the diversity they're insistent on putting in this game unnaturally. And second of all is when you look at the people behind this game. Here's one of them. This is a hilarious Twitter video from another one of them.
He, him, she, her, and they, them, and then your gender is man, woman.
And what's even more ridiculous about this whole thing is right here. Rook's gender reflects how he sees himself, does not affect gameplay. Then what is the point in putting it in there? The only thing you should be dealing with is male-female body type, and yes, male-female, not A and B, or the slider that they have here, and you shouldn't be dealing with the pronouns. Pronouns maybe, but really no, because it should only boil down to body type in a game set in medieval Europe. It's not that hard to comprehend, but when you look at this person right here, it becomes painfully obvious why this game is the way it is.
Non-binary. Love that. Love the inclusivity. Top surgery scars are also included in this for all of our trans and non-binary rooks out there. I absolutely was blown away by this. It's beautiful.
Like I said, you can't even see that they're there, so what the hell is the point in putting it in the game if you're not going to actually do something with it? It's nothing more than base pandering. It's nothing more than begging the modern audience to come and play this game, and it's nothing more than brain dead lack of understanding of what actually helps the LGBT community. This game honestly is disgusting, and I really hope it suffers every bad sale that it deserves.
Beautiful to see the inclusion in the game and to see yourself represented.
So, this game does not look like it's going to be doing too hot. And it's even funnier when you realize what they claim to be the reason why this game is the way it is. Look at how tame, sanitized, and absolutely boring the character customization looks. You might say to yourself, my god, it almost looks like someone just ripped it out of The Sims and made it worse. And you know what? You would be right. According to this article from The Gamer, Dragon Age the Veilguard used The Sims 4 as inspiration for its character creator. Who could be surprised? It has everything you want, but down to a size that you don't want it. It only appeals to the modern audience and doesn't appeal to actual gamers. No one's going to want to play as any of these characters because they all look hideous. There's no way you can make a character who's as attractive as you'd want to play. And I think that's exactly what they wanted and exactly what they were aiming for. Problem is, that means no one's going to want to play the game. Like I said in the past, I enjoyed Dragon Age 1, also known as Dragon Age Origins, though while I did beat the game, I didn't play through the DLC. And I do want to go back and replay the older games, but this game is just putting an absolutely sour taste in my mouth. And while I will say I did like the video of the mage combat where they're dashing around, I don't want that for a Dragon Age game. I would want that in a standalone game where that's the norm, but the way that we know mages to work in Dragon Age is they're not that powerful. They are stationary and they throw giant lobs of magic or buffs. They aren't dashing all over the place, playing like a goddamn Souls-like. So ultimately, I really think this game is going to flop hard. According to sources like Southern Craig, we do know this game is doing atrocious in pre-order sales, and we know that according to SteamDB, it is also doing incredibly poor on wishlist size over at Steam. And none of that is a shock to me, given the fact that every single DEI infested game has utterly flopped from Alan Wake 2 to Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League to Dustborn. I'm sure this one's going to go even worse than the rest of them did. Because I cannot imagine there's a whole lot of people looking to play this game and play a game that looks like this, because there is no audience for it. The modern audience doesn't exist. Maybe this game will get lucky and it might survive a little bit based on the gameplay, because some of the gameplay does look decent to me. I sincerely doubt it. There are a million other games with similar enough gameplay that you don't need to play this game. You can play any of those other million games. So ultimately, this is going to fail. And the last thing I'm going to say is that they might think that they're helping our community, but they're not. They're full of themselves and they're full of it. All of this stuff, the mastectomy scars, all characters being canonically pansexual, you're not helping anyone. All you're doing is convincing the masses that this is being forced into every asset of entertainment, and you're making them incredibly distrustful of the LGBT community. You might think that you're progressive, you might think that you're helpful, but at the end of the day, all you're doing is you're sending us back 20, 30 years. And while I'm not the most loudest advocate for the LGBT community, but I will stand here and I will point out when you're doing things that you think to help, but ultimately you're just hurting us, that you don't care about the reality, you don't care about the community. All you care about is having your narcissism served in such a way that you feel validated. You don't care about anyone else except for yourselves, and it shows 100% in games like this. So, I will revel in watching you burn. Thank you guys for coming along. Let me know in the comments if you have any kind of excitement for this game, though I'm willing to bet none of you do. And thanks for coming along and just looking at the newest set of DEI failure.